birds are literally my biggest fear. First start, I mean, I've been pooped on. Flying squirrel, I got you. Like at this point, McDonald's, Starbucks is more popular than Jesus. When it comes to like having pets, I didn't come from a family that grew up having pets. My parents were like, we don't want to be responsible for cleaning up dog poop, and we're really busy. You guys have like too much going on, and we know that you guys, meaning my brother and I, aren't going to be cleaning that up, so we're not going to deal with that. And so I was like that kid in class at school that never got to raise my hand for like, do you have a cat or do you have a dog? I just was like, I've had a goldfish and my dad flushed it down the toilet when it died or whatever. So like the conversation of pets, I don't know where I'm leading. Well, I do, but I don't know how to say it. I've never felt the pressure to like have a pet because I didn't have any growing up other than goldfish that would last maybe a couple months at a time, and my dad would flush them down the toilet at the end of their life. So it wasn't like the brightest experience. But Nick did have pets growing up, so like we've chatted about that. I'm kind of like, we've kind of gotten to a place where like, if we get one, it'll probably be like a family pet like later in life when we've had kids and stuff like that. But I was thinking like a cute little dog or something, and Nick wants a bird. He's like very persistent, and it's slowed down a little bit, but in our first year of marriage, he was like consistently asking, can we get a bird? Which, first off, we can't even have any pets in our apartment, so that's the excuse I'm holding on to for now. But fun fact, birds are literally my biggest fear. Maybe that's dramatic. One of my biggest fears, like I've come into contact with other things in life where I'm like, oh, I'm fearful of this. So maybe not my biggest, but like pretty fearful. And it's Nick's favorite animal. So that was pretty funny when we like first start. Get a paper towel! My coffee spilled!
No.
I'm not even surprised right now. Gosh dang. It's like literally maybe a fourth full too. And anyway, what was I saying? You love them. You love birds. I don't like them. And people have always asked, like, did you have a bad experience with a bird? I mean, I've been pooped on, but no, I've not directly had a bad experience. I do remember this reoccurring dream I had growing up where I would be like out in this super open, like long road that never ended, nothing around, no life around, no people, no cars, no nothing. And I would just be walking, and then all of a sudden I see this huge like black bird, probably a crow because those are gross, and it would be like coming at me, and the moment it attacked me, I'd wake up like in a panic. So maybe that like started this whole fear. But yeah, I'm just always scared of birds like attacking me. I like to believe they know when I'm around. Like I would, back when I was in high school, we had a lot of, is it seagulls? Yeah. Those are beach birds, but they're around, no, right? Gulls around. Yeah, gulls around. Seagulls would like circle the campus, I noticed. And I don't know what it was, but like when I pulled into the parking lot, they were all like they just knew I was there. And I would be in my car and make sure like, oh, are people around? Because I'd be booking it inside and I didn't want to like cause a scene. But they would just like surround me like circles. So anyway, not my favorite. But Nick really wants a bird. So first off, I have to be warmed up to the idea of even getting a bird, let alone this man wanting like a bird sanctuary someday, which who has that? That's so weird. And imagine me like out on a walk with friends. They all have like their cute dogs on leashes, and I'm like this with a bird on my arm. Walking our pets. So
give me that. It's true. Birds are so cool. In my personal opinion, I mean, first of all, they can fly, which there's few other breeds of animals besides like a bat that can fly.
Flying squirrel.
A flying squirrel can't actually fly.
Flying squirrel. I got you.
A flying squirrel can't actually fly. It glides.
Gotcha. I've never seen one, so I wouldn't know.
That's like me putting on a parachute and jumping off a building and being like, look at me, I can fly.
I mean, chickens fly. I just saw a chicken at our friend's house the other day fly up onto the like little ledge that our friends made it.
Yeah, chickens are birds.
From like the ground to the... Oh.
To my point, chickens are birds.
Oh my gosh. I'm wired right now. Okay.
That coffee got you. But yeah, so birds can fly, which is why they're the coolest. But also, secondly, why I think they're the coolest is they can talk. And I don't think it's because they're more intelligent or they can actually understand what they're saying. But I know that they can mimic.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can mimic. Thank you, scientist Brooklyn over here, giving us the breakdown.
Hate birds, but know tons about them.
The more you know, the more that you hate them. Anyways, so I think that they're the coolest for that reason. And I think like I've heard dogs make in certain clips like a dog say like, "I love you," and they're like, "Oh, you're saying I love you, you're so sweet." But dogs are just as dumb. And I think dolphins are technically the smartest animal, but birds are the coolest.
I used to always, like, when people ask, like, what's your favorite animal growing up? I always went with dolphin. Don't know why. I remember, like, one day I felt, like, really nervous and on edge about, like, oh, my gosh, my turn's next. I don't have a favorite animal. And I just said dolphin. And then from that point on, I was like, well, I'm just going to stick with that because I can't change my answer now because I said it one time. So I've always said dolphin, but they're actually legit animals. So a little pat on the back for that one. Yeah, they're cool.
They're legit? That's such a funny way of saying that.
Well, I mean, like, all animals are legit animals, but I meant legit as in, like, they're sick, they're cool, they're rad, they're, you know.
They low-key dripping. Also, funny fact, if you didn't know this, at work, my nickname is Dolphin, so...
Full circle, baby.
It's ironic that, you know, Brooklyn's always been into dolphins, and then she came and she found one right here, young flipper over here.
Yeah, as Mr. Nick Simmons would refer to me, Mrs. Dolphin, apparently, is my new name.
I love that so much. So anyways, I have had 3 birds, I think, in my lifetime. 2 of them were parakeets, and my first one was a cockatiel, which is like, if you've ever seen a cockatoo, they're like the larger white ones that have this yellow crest. And so a cockatiel looks like a miniature version of that, and they usually have orange cheeks, like orange circles on their cheeks. They're like very cute, very affectionate, but the one that I got, unfortunately, had a little bit of a temperament. And I made the mistake of not clipping his wings.
Oh my gosh, is this the story of the bird who got stuck in your tree?
Yeah, we're getting there.
I forgot.
So I named my bird Goldie after my grandma Goldie because the bird was golden. It wasn't a female bird, I don't think. I don't know. It's not like...
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, so anyways, when you have a domesticated bird, you're supposed to clip their wings so that they can enjoy like flying around the house or like using their wings but not being able to actually go up in elevation. Like they can pretty much stay the same, but usually after a certain point they'll fall back down in altitude because they have to have the full length of feathers. Anyways, that's a little too detailed, but I had forgot to do that, and I took my bird out in the backyard, which at the time we lived in like a 2-story house, so we were up on the deck, which was pretty high off the ground, and he's on my shoulder. We're just chilling. I'm about to go walk down and see the bunnies that we had, because we also had bunnies. It was awesome. And he just freaks out for no reason, takes off, and goes like diagonally straight up into a tree in our neighbor's yard. And at that point, he's about 30 or 40 feet off the ground. So I'm like freaking out, but I think that we can get him back down if we can just get up there. So we call our friends, one of the guys who like builds tree houses. He's super handy and kind of outdoorsy, and he brings over a ladder and can't get close enough, and he can't climb the tree because it's so thick. So he goes and gets like it's essentially a pruning saw that has like a 10-12 foot handle on it, and it extends, and he tried to kind of like reach up there and scare the bird so he'd fly back down. And so he does scare the bird, but Goldie decides to just take off, and since he doesn't really know how to fly or control himself, he just keeps going up and up and up and up and up and out of sight and just keeps going. So
never to be seen again.
To this day, I'm not sure if he just like ran out of energy and plummeted out of the sky, or if he figured out how to fly, or if he's somewhere else in the middle of the wild. But I was really, really sad. And
And I remember the first time you told me that story, maybe first and only time, because you didn't get the reaction you were looking for. I didn't know how I was supposed to respond. I also didn't realize how much Nick like felt like passion and care for birds in general. So here I am laughing at inappropriate time, which is typical. And you were like really sad, and then that was a whole thing because, again, yeah, not the reaction you're looking for. So anyhow, hope Goldie's living a good life out there. Yeah. But with that, like, we're going to be talking about tipping today, so that makes sense.
With that, we're just going to transition to tipping now.
So weird. Oh, man. Yeah, like, literally tipping, like, at a restaurant, leaving a tip, that kind of tipping. So, cool. Love that. So, what do we think about tipping? And this is so random, but not everything we talk about is going to be, like, so serious. Anyway, we had this conversation a couple months ago about tipping, like, whether you should or not, where you should, I guess, more so, because we went somewhere I don't even remember where, and Nick didn't tip, and afterwards I was like, that's embarrassing, babe, like, we need to tip, and he was like, no, we don't, and I was like, okay. And I think it was maybe some fast food takeout type situation, so we weren't at like a nice restaurant, didn't tip. That of course would be whatever, but then that got us into a conversation about like, oh my gosh, we feel differently about tipping. I don't know. Not even a conversation, kind of like a little heated discussion there for a second. And I realized like I didn't really know how I felt about it, other than in that moment I was like, I'm kind of embarrassed. Like, that's kind of mean. Like, I would want to tip if I was working. So then Nick proceeds to send out a text. Was it? That's how you did it, right? Or did you ask a bunch of buddies? You ended up asking.
At a bachelor party.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay. I thought you sent out a text, which is hilarious. But that following weekend, you did a little survey. Would you like to?
Sure. So I was out with the boys at a bachelor party, and I just asked them, hey, you guys, what do you think about tipping for takeout? And the resounding answer was no. I do not tip on takeout. And the follow-up question, I was like, do you tip on like fast food if you're not actually sitting down and being served? And they said no. And so we can get into the philosophical implications of that, but I think it might be a little helpful for both of us to frame how we grew up, like how our families tip, because I think that kind of frames how we go. So do you want to start off with that?
Sure. But I don't even know if I had an answer for that. Like, my mom and dad could listen to this and be like, okay, that's not what we did. So don't quote me on anything I'm about to say, or I'm not even going to claim that what I'm about to say is what they did. But I think I mean, me feeling strongly about that obviously resembles that they probably did tip, like, growing up, because I cared about it for some reason. I don't know. I don't think, like, that topic specifically was like, we're going to sit down and discuss this, Brooklyn, or something like that growing up. But, and I don't even think I had fully decided on my own how I felt about it, or what the definition of that was. I don't know. Until we had this conversation, then it got me thinking. But I think in my mind, I was like, if I ever go out in any capacity, takeout, fast food, steakhouse, grabbing a cup of coffee, like as big or small of a purchase for food service, I was like, oh yeah, you tip to some degree. Like, even if it's like a couple $1 coffee and then I just tip 50 cents. Even if it's like a $80 steak dinner and you tip a way fatter amount. But I think in my mind it was just like, oh, I'm not making my own food at home, I tip. And that was like all there was to it. There wasn't really like more to that. But there's also that like weird pressure when nowadays, when everything is done on like the little iPads when you walk up, and they like watch you fill out the tip page when you have to sign, or at Dutch Bros now when they're like, no worries at all, but I have to ask you, since it's like a no touch screen for the customers, like, do you want a tip today? And you get like sweaty because you're like, if I say no, they hate me. If I say yes, that's dumb because I just spent only a couple bucks on a drink, although now that's like $6. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. So there's also like a weird pressure about it, and I like to be liked. So I'm like, wow, like. I also worked in food for a little bit, and of course I love me some tips. So I don't know. I don't know.
So what I do remember from my childhood is that I always remember my parents tipping when we went out to eat at like a sit down restaurant or when we were all eating together. But at least personally, the way that I like to think about it is, for the most part, when you're going out to eat or get a drink, no matter what, you're being upcharged on what it's actually worth. And that's how you make money. Okay, that's how capitalism works. All right, you have a product, you get it for a certain price, you sell it for more. So I'm okay with that. And so when I go out to eat, obviously I don't look at my taco from Taco Bell and go, $1.99? Well, I'm getting like 10 cents of beans, 15 cents of rice, and 3 cents of beef right here. This is absurd. I love your laughs.
From my laugh, it's loud enough to reach a mile away.
That's true. So I don't sit there. I'm not that frugal where I just like get disgusted that I'm being charged. I have had incidents.
Don't worry about that. This is a hodgepodge episode. We definitely have another story we need to tell here. We'll
circle back to that afterwards. Anyways, I like to think that I don't believe in tipping on things where the service isn't being provided on top of the actual item. So if I sit down and someone's coming out and asking me what I want, and then they're carrying it from the kitchen to here and accommodating me, taking care of me, whatever, even if it's not insane service, I think in that situation it makes sense to tip. But when I'm at Dutch Bros paying $5 for a drink, that's probably only worth like 20 cents worth of drink, maybe even less. But I think that obviously it's their job to be making that drink. When you're a server, your job isn't to be making the food. So it makes sense to tip, at least for me, because what they're doing, they're not necessarily being compensated for in the same way. So the way that...
Still getting like hourly pay like a Dutch Bros person.
Yeah, but a Dutch Bros person isn't like walking out to the car and handing me my drink and then going like, okay, and what are we having for dessert, and like taking care. It's like a quick interaction.
Yeah.
So for the same,
we're really hounding on Dutch right now.
So
that was just the example.
So for the same reason, if I apply that philosophy to something like fast food, then what's the difference between going to like a coffee shop and going to fast food? Like if you tip at a coffee shop because someone made your drink, then what's the difference between tipping at McDonald's for someone slapping together your McChicken? Or
it's more gourmet. Like
that's a terrible reason.
No. Hear me out. I don't think it's a terrible reason. Here's why. I like going to local places, like local coffee houses over like Starbucks or Dutch Bros, just because that's how I am in like the environment, sit down, whatever. But that's the exact distinction for me, because in my mind I'm like, okay, take McDonald's for an example. It's a corporation. There's a reason, like, we don't need to get into what the burgers are made out of. Like, I still like them. So anyway, so they, again, yeah, it's just right there. It's probably in the freezer. They just slap it on there. They're not making it. Whereas, I mean, at Starbucks, of course they're making it, but again, it's like this corporation. It's very cut and dry. And these local businesses, like, they're working their little booties off to get up and running and keep their shop going. And they a lot of times are making and coming up with their own recipes. And I appreciate that extra effort and work. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to support you because I want to keep you around. I'm like, Starbucks is in Morocco. Like, they're good. They're doing okay. You know? So it's just like acknowledging the fact that it's not just a massive corporation that has already reached the ends of the earth. Yeah. Like at this point, McDonald's, Starbucks is more popular than Jesus. Talk about being on a mission.
So then by that logic, shouldn't you also be tipping if you walk into like a small business and you're buying something? Like if you walk into a little garden shop.
It's not food service. It's not food service. It's retail.
I know, but
we're just talking about like where you actually tip. You don't get the choice. You don't get the option on a little receipt to tip at like a little boutique. You're just buying a shirt.
But what I'm trying to say is the reasoning that you gave for tipping wasn't related to the food. It's related to like the corporate versus like supporting a small local business.
Yeah, but I used the fact that like they came up with their own recipes and they put in the work to create that. Like, you can open a small local business that's still difficult, but like you're still buying your retail from like wholesalers probably. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get that. I'm just saying, like,
either way, I'm not dying on this hill.
Whatever. Grand scheme, I think that it's honorable to tip. I think that it's a good thing. I think it's like courteous by all means.
But we've met in the middle. I mean, we've met in the middle that like when we go out to, obviously we've always, like when we go out to a sit down restaurant, we tip. And then when it's like a takeout fast quick thing, I just don't look. Nick fills out the receipt and that's that. And when I'm by myself, I give a little extra moolah. So, yeah. Anyway, how do you feel about tipping?
Drop it down in the comments below and send us a letter to our PO box. No,
but to wrap it back around to this frugal conversation about Nick, oh boy, is that a heater. This specific story was like the tip of the iceberg in Nick's frugalness, would you say? In your frugal journey. Yeah, in your frugality. Hilarious word. Anyway, like, you've always been frugal ever since I knew you. That was like a big thing for you. And that's honorable and that's good. And I really appreciate that about who you are. And then there has been points when it's been like so extreme that Nick can't enjoy anything. And so this is a really fun story. Would you like to kick it off?
Sure. So I think, was it a Saturday? Yep. Yeah, it was a chill Saturday a few months ago. And Brooklyn said, hey, do you want to go down to the 5th Street Marketplace to Provisions and grab a coffee, like grab a drink and just hang out? And I was like, sure, that sounds awesome. So we get there and I've already been there several times. It's a great place. I really love it. But just for some reason on this day, I looked up at the menu.
Is that top tier?
I look at the menu and I see that it's like $5 for a chocolate croissant or like $4.50 for a 16-ounce hot chocolate, and just every bone in my body, every atom in my being just said, no, that's not right.
And while he's standing there having this like internal dialogue with himself, I am standing in line with a smile on my face, so excited about this sunshiny Saturday, about to enjoy pastry and coffee, which we've already talked about, discussed, and decided we were going to go do. And therefore, that means we had the room in our budget to go do it. Okay, so, because homegirl right here does our budgeting. So I knew that we had the budget, which is why I asked to go do it. Anyway, I'm standing there in line, all excited. I'm like, babe, what do you want? And he just looks like sick to his stomach, basically. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? There's people behind us in line, so let's get out of line. If you don't know what you want, not a big deal. We'll just come back. And then, yeah.
I think I'm trying to remember verbatim what I said. In my mind,
not quiet.
In my mind right now, I'm thinking I said something like, it's just not right. I can't do it. I can't justify spending $5 on a chocolate croissant when I can get the same amount of enjoyment from a $2 yogurt, frozen yogurt at Costco.
No, yeah, you legit said that. And he was being loud. And this is on a Saturday, so they were having the little market outside downtown. And so we didn't walk into like the provisions shop. We were like outside in line at one of the bakery's like booths. And we're maybe 5 feet away from the guy selling the pastries. So he's listening to every opinion Nick has about his prices. And I'm like, you're kidding. Like, I'm trying to be respectful and keep it together. And I'm also about to lose it on Nick's attitude.
So anyways, Brooklyn looks at me and says something like, you realize I asked you to come do this because it's not about the money, it's just about the experience. Like, we have the money to do this, you shouldn't be worrying about that.
And you know how much these things cost.
Yeah, and you already knew how much it costed before you even got here, so like, what are you freaking out about? And I was just like, double down. I just like, literally, it makes no sense to pay that much for something when I'm gonna get the same enjoyment somewhere else for much less. Like, it just does not add up. I'm not content. I can't do it. It's not right.
And at this point, like, whole morning ruined, okay? Like, that might sound dramatic, but it took 5 seconds and I was like, well, great. We were just enjoying this whole morning, and now we're not enjoying it. And
go back to the car.
Yeah, I literally was like, you can go back to the car. And he was like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, turn around and walk. And then I literally said to him, I was like, because we're in public, you're making a scene. I'm currently staying calm, but if you stand here any longer, I don't think I can stay calm, and I don't want to not have self-control. So my version of self-control in this moment is you need to walk away from me, and I need a couple minutes. Because it was like he was having that bad of an attitude over the croissant that costed $4.50. So, and then of course I was just bummed about like this was supposed to be enjoyable, and now all of a sudden it's not. So he was like, no, I'm not doing that. He starts following me. I turn around and I go, I am not kidding. Walk away from me now.
So yeah, I got some alone time in the car, and that was good for some reflection and introspection. And after,
didn't we drive home?
I think I apologized to you when you came back to the car.
Yeah, we drove home.
Oh, I guess so.
This went on. No, this went on. So walked away. I took my couple minutes just to like take a second, and then I called him and was like, okay, are you in the car? Making sure like I knew he was. And then went and met in the car. And we didn't speak a single word. No, it was silent. You were stubborn. And I was stubborn, and we drove, and you were like, what are we doing? And I was like, well, what do you think? The whole morning's ruined. We're going home. I was like not easing up. So we drove all the way back here. And then after we got home, Nick was like, do you want to have a conversation? And I was like, sure. So that's when we talked it through. That's when I was able to explain. He came to his senses, and I'm sure people were listening to this and going, wow, this is ridiculous, but this is just a sneak peek into marital moments. Okay. Like this is the real stuff that we deal with sometimes. And after we were able to like have a conversation about it, then we like, of course, went back out and enjoyed our afternoon, and ended up being good. But yeah, care to share a little bit more on your frugality journey, where you started, where you've come to?
I grew up in a household where being frugal was pretty standard. My dad has always been very frugal, and so that rubbed off on me, and I definitely took it to somewhat of an extreme for a while. This is another short story, but at one point I had my parents buy me tickets to go to see the Lakers play the Trailblazers for my birthday, I think my sophomore year of college. And so I went up, and it was like a $300 ticket, so like really good seats. But I was like, oh, it's $30 to park at the Moda Center. That's insane. I'm not gonna pay $30 freaking dollars to park there. And so I asked some people around Portland, my roommate and his family, like, hey, where should I go and park? Like, is there anywhere that I can park and then walk like a few blocks, or like, I don't even care, I'll walk a mile if I have to. It's $30 we're talking about. This is not like chump change. So I get told that there's a Burger King like a half mile away from the Moda Center, and if you just go in and like buy something, technically you're a customer, so then they're not going to tow you. So I was like, oh, awesome, I'll do that. So I got there early, had my dinner.
$30 on Burger King.
I spent
I'm kidding.
$8.53. Thank you very much, Brooklyn. So I spent $8.53, got a milkshake, got a burger, got all the good stuff, and then was like, sweet, I'm ready to go. Went, enjoyed the game. It was awesome, and came back, and my car was nowhere to be seen. And I had also on the way up hit the outlets at Woodburn, the Woodburn Premium Outlets, and gone to the Nike store, gone to the Tommy Hilfiger store.
Which was huge for you. Huge. I've never seen you other than that one moment, which I wasn't even there, spend full price on like a nice brand for yourself on something that's gonna last a long time. Yeah,
true. So it was pretty rare. It was a breakthrough, but I had $500 worth of brand new stuff in my trunk, and I was freaking out because I thought someone had stolen it. So I look around in the parking lot, and I find the sign that says like parking here, customers only, call this number, such and such towing company. So I called, they said, yeah, we have your car. And I said, I was a customer. I came in and had a meal and just like left my car here while I went to the game. And they were like, oh, okay, well, Burger King only honors that like as long as you're actively having your meal. And I said, oh, lovely, a great technicality. So I ended up paying for an Uber over to the towing place, and then they tell me it's $350 to get my car back. And yeah,
so just like a little 35 times 10, no biggie.
So yeah, more than my ticket was worth, and almost as much as I spent at the outlets. And I just spent it getting my car back so I could pay for more gas to drive home from Portland. And I don't think I've ever felt more defeated and just like angry. And then later on I was like, I should start a towing business. They're making tons. Like towing from Burger King to like a few miles away to their place, they're making so much money off of me. I should just do that. But all right, you guys, you already know what time of the episode it is.
Sponsor slot time.
That's right. And this week, Hey It's Us is brought to you by none other than Emerald Valley Towing. Woo! We love Emerald Valley Towing.
I had a dream last night. Whoa. That was such a weird moment. Like, I went, bah, 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 and that brought me back to realizing that I had a dream last night in which I ran through a crowd of people in a gym and went, bah, 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 and all the dudes were like, she's sick. I don't even know what it was about. Anyway, okay. Anyway, I'm a party animal. That's all. That's all that means.
She's a little party girl. So, anyways, we love Emerald Valley Towing so much. They do a great job. They've towed us once, and you know,
100 donations to them.
You know, can't complain. They did a great job. They towed us real nice and good and efficiently, right within the timeline they said they would.
Yeah, but on the real, Cressel Bakery.
Yeah.
That's who we're coming for this week. This lovely coffee is from them. The thing of bread. Nick is making fun of me because this morning we went there, which is why we're shouting them out. And I said thing of bread instead of loaf of bread. But it's beautiful. They even sliced it for us. Woo! Okay. We had a few bread items, let's just say that. But they're fabulous. They hand make. See, like I mentioned in the episode, like local, they make their stuff, you know, it's good. It's a good. The bread is fabulous, and there's bread in almost everything they serve, so everything is good. Yeah, but check them out. So.
And also one more side note, the workers are awesome, and there's a really cute redheaded guy there who helped us out.
Who will slice your thing of bread.
He will slice your thing of bread, and he's really nice. So shout out to them. Cresswell Bakery, love you. Back to the episode.
You know how like YouTubers block out they'll be like, it's way too far away to do that.
I'll make it happen.
So I'm gonna do it, and then you're gonna do it right now. And literally, I've never been towed other than this one time, and it was with Nick, and it was a few months after this towing incident. We were at my brother and sister-in-law's apartment, and they have like street parking and then some guest spots at their apartment complex, but it was like super packed out, and there was one visitor spot open in front of the office of the apartment complex, and the hours were like until 6 p.m. and it was after 6 p.m. So I was like, oh, no biggie because the office is closed. So we parked there, and we were in their place for like, I don't know, 2 hours. Come out, car is gone again. Thought it was stolen, and I'm like freaking out. We see the tow sign on the office wall, and I'm like, you're kidding. Don't even tell me. So we call. They have it, and that was another $300. We both paid $150. I think we both paid $150 because we were together, and we were like, well, we're splitting it. That was a very defeating, frustrating experience too, but we've learned the hard way, and good stuff. So yeah, about your frugalness, you have had some fun things happen to you that have given you a little bit of a reality check.
That's true, and I am proud to say,
oh gosh,
no, I'm just kidding, I'm not gonna say it like that, but I have gotten to a certain point. A lot of people, when these things happen, there were some mentors and like my parents, Brooklyn's parents, who all said, you know what, in the grand scheme of things, you're always going to be able to make more money, and this really stinks. It's awful, but there's nothing you can do about it. So you just got to roll with the punches. And in the moment, I was like, no, this is awful. It's unfair. I hate it. Ugh. And now I have more perspective. So when those moments happen again, now I can just kind of sit there, take a minute, calm down, and just not let it ruin everything that's going on. Because
and I just feel like yours and mine even, our like view of like money and generosity and like not feeling so knuckle tied to our money. That knuckle tied, like white knuckled, you know, like whole gripping. Knuckle tied. Honestly, the people know what I mean. Okay, knuckle tied to our money. Just like helps a lot because you feel a lot freer. You don't feel like your money is everything and it's like absolutely controlling your life, and that just helps with being able to enjoy a croissant for $4.50 once in a while. Even when you live on a budget, like you can do things once in a while. So like there's that balance.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with paying $4.50 for a chocolate croissant as long as you're not tipping on top of that. And that's all that we came here today to discuss with you guys and tell you. So thank you so much for joining us
on birds, tipping, and frugality.
That's right.
Happy frickin' Sunday, folks.